All right, let's get right into it. Picture this. It's New Year's Eve. You can practically hear the countdown echoing everywhere. But what if, when that clock finally strikes 12, you suddenly realize you're not there to celebrate a new beginning? You're there to be the final sacrifice of the year that just ended.
Yeah, this is the story of an invitation that promised the world but delivered a nightmare. And it all starts, like these things so often do, with the promise of something just a little too good to be true.
So you're probably asking, how does someone even end up in a situation like this? Well, for our narrator, it all began with a simple chance encounter. They'd had a really rough year, you know? The last thing they wanted to do was go to some big party. But then they met Julian. And Julian was one of those people. He was incredibly charming, super persuasive. He could just see that our narrator was feeling low, and he presented this gala as the perfect escape, a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, an offer that felt like it was custom-made for someone who was just desperate for a fresh start. And right there, that's where you can feel the first little alarm bells start to ring. Our narrator felt it too, that tiny, nagging gut feeling. Julian was pushing things, moving just a bit too quickly. But that pull, the allure of this incredible party and a clean slate, it was just strong enough to make them say, what the heck, and take the chance. So let's follow them. They take the invitation and they drive out to this secluded manor way on the edge of town. And as they pull up, that feeling of unease, it starts to creep back in. But this time, it's a whole lot stronger.
The whole scene is just wrong. I mean, you see this massive, sprawling mansion, and it is pitch black, not a single light on, and yet there's a whole line of expensive, fancy cars parked out front. Clearly, this is the place, so why is it completely cloaked in darkness?
Before they can even really wrap their head around the dark house, the front door just swings open. And there's Julian. But he's not in a tux, he's not ready for some fancy party. He's just standing there in a robe, and it's hanging open. And he has this smile that doesn't even come close to reaching his eyes. In fact, you look closer and there's nothing there at all. It's this vacant, terrifying look that just screams danger. Every single instant is screaming run, but he just gestures for them to come inside. They take one hesitant step over the threshold and bam, the door slams shut behind them. The world just vanishes into absolute perfect black. And then they feel it. His hand clamps down on theirs, not like a welcome, but like a vice. The trap has just been sprung. He starts pulling them up a staircase in the pitch dark. And as they go higher, they start to hear this weird rhythmic sound. It gets louder and louder. It almost sounds like chanting. This is it. This is the moment where everything is about to come into terrifying focus. He opens a door at the top of the stairs, flicks on a single light, and the shock is just overwhelming. There's no party, no champagne, no music, no guests. It's just a bare room with two other people, a man and a woman, and they are just staring with these predatory, hungry eyes as they start to circle. And then the countdown starts. But it's not from 10, it's the 12 bells of midnight. With that first chime, the horrifying reality starts to dawn. With the second, Julian just lets his robe fall to the floor, and it becomes clear this is some kind of sick ritual. And as that final 12th bell rings out, the trap is fully sprung. In the dead silence after that last bell, Julian leans in and whispers this. It was never a party. It was something so much darker. They weren't looking for another guest. They were hunting for a victim. Someone who, after a tough year, might not be missed right away. Okay, so this whole story, as absolutely terrifying as it is, it feels like something out of a horror movie, right? A nightmare. But what if I told you the most chilling part isn't the fiction? The real horror is that this whole story was inspired by true events. Now, in our story, the protagonist is a fighter. They manage to find a way to escape, to break free, and they survive this whole ordeal. But in the real world, the ending was tragically different. Back in April of 2012, a young woman named Brittany Kilgore accepted an invitation from a man she'd just met, and she never came home. And this is where you see the chilling parallel. It's the same playbook. In our story, the lure was an exclusive, can't-miss gala. For Brittany, it was an invitation for a dinner cruise, you see? In both situations, the promise of a special, exciting event was the psychological bait they used to isolate a target. So let's take a look at the actual facts of the real-life case that was the inspiration for this whole chilling tale.
Brittany Kilgore was lured to a home by a man named Louis Ray Perez. And just like in the story, he wasn't alone. He had accomplices waiting there, Grace Margino and Jessica Lopez. They were all part of this group obsessed with what the official case files call S&M rituals. That term basically refers to a subculture involving sadism and masochism. But for this specific group, their violent fantasies had twisted into a very deadly reality.
So let's just break down the hard facts from the case file. The victim, Brittany Kilgore. The perpetrators, a trio, all working together to carry out their brutal plan. The lure, that seemingly harmless invitation to a dinner cruise, which was the absolute key to getting her alone. And of course, the horrific outcome. Brittany was murdered. Her body was found days later, which is what ultimately led investigators right to the three of them. For their crimes, all three of them, Perez, Margino, and Lopez, were tried, convicted, and sentenced to life in prison. No possibility of parole. Justice, in this case, was absolute. So what does all of this really come down to? Whether you're looking at the fiction or the tragic reality, it's a chilling but vital lesson. Real-life predators often don't look like monsters. They look like Julian. They're charming, they're persuasive, and they seem to be offering exactly what you think you want. They use our own desire for connection, for a special experience, against us. That gut feeling isn't just you being paranoid. It's a very real survival mechanism. It's recognizing when an offer that seems perfect is actually a perfectly designed trap. And that really leaves us with a question to think about. That intuition, that split-second feeling you get. Have you ever experienced that? A feeling about a person or a situation that you just couldn't explain, but you knew deep down you had to trust it. It's a powerful survival instinct we all have.